one spiritual and the other material. Both these spiritual and material energies are spread everywhere, and that is the proof of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The existence of consciousness everywhere is not temporary, it is without beginning, and because it is without beginning, it is also without end. The theory that consciousness develops at a certain stage of material combination is not accepted herein, for the consciousness which exists everywhere is said to be without beginning. The materialistic or atheistic theory, stating that there is no soul, that there is no God, and that consciousness is the result of a combination of matter, is not acceptable. Matter is not beginningless. It has a beginning. As this material body has a beginning, the universal body does also. And as our material body has begun on the basis of our soul, the entire gigantic universal body has begun on the basis of the Supreme Soul. The Vedanta Sutra says, Janmad Yasya. This entire material exhibition, its creation, its growth, its maintenance, and its dissolution, is an emanation from the Supreme Person. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord says, I am the beginning, the source of birth of everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. He is not a temporary person, nor does he have a beginning. He is without a cause, and he is the cause of all causes. Padaha means transcendental, beyond the creative energy. The Lord is the creator of the creative energy. We can see that there is a creative energy in the material world, but he is not under this energy. But he, the Lord, is not under this energy. He is Prakriti Para, beyond this energy. He is not subjected to the threefold miseries created by the material energy because he is beyond it. The modes of material nature do not touch him because, do not touch him. It is explained here, Swayam Jyoti, he is light himself. We have experience in the material world of one light's being a reflection of another, just as moonlight is a reflection of the sunlight. Sunlight is also the reflection of the Brahma Jyoti. Similarly, the Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual effulgence, is a reflection of the body of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Yasya Prabha Prabhavato. The Brahma Jyoti, or Brahman effulgence, is due to his bodily luster. Therefore, it is said here, Swayam Jyoti, he himself distributed in different ways, as the Brahma Jyoti, as sunlight, and as moonlight. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that in the spiritual world, there is no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity. The Upanishads also confirm this. Because the bodily luster of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sufficient to illuminate the spiritual world, there is no need of sunlight, moonlight, or any other light, or electricity. This self-illumination also contradicts the theory that the spirit soul, or the spiritual consciousness, develops at a certain point in material combination. The term Swayam Jyoti indicates that there is no tinge of anything material or any material reaction. It is confirmed here that the concept of the Lord's all-pervasiveness is due to his illumination everywhere. We have experienced that the sun is situated in one place, but the sunlight is diffused all around for millions and millions of miles. That is our practical experience. Similarly, although the Supreme Light is situated in his personal abode, Vaikuntha or Vrindavan, his light is diffused not only in the spiritual world, but beyond that. In the material world also, that light is reflected by the sun globe, and the sunlight is reflected by the moon globe. Thus, although he is situated in his own abode, his light is distributed all over the spiritual and material worlds. The Brahma Samhita 537 confirms this. Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhutaha. He is living in Goloka, but still he is present all over the creation. He is the super soul of everything, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has innumerable transcendental qualities. It is also concluded that although he is undoubtedly a person, he is not a Purusha of this material world. Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that beyond this material world there can be a person, therefore they are impersonalists. But it is explained very nicely here that the personality of Godhead is beyond material existence. Om Jnana Tivarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmiratam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance, But my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, why do we need to know about the fundamental principles of material nature? This is the question. Can't we just hear about Krishna in Vrindavan and go back to Gadya? Well, the answer is we need to understand these principles because we're deeply enmeshed in the material nature. And in our conditioned state, we identify fully with it, especially this body. This body is who I am, the conditioned soul thinks. And who I am is defined also by my environment. I'm not just floating in space, but I belong to a certain land. I was born in the land. I belong to a certain community. I have a certain family, relationship, gender, all of these things pertaining to the body. And this goes on birth after birth. Of course, in the lower species, they don't think like that, but they just identify with the particular body they're in and act that way by the inspiration from the super soul. So as human beings, we have an opportunity, a rare opportunity, to really understand who we actually are and what this world is and who the source of everything is. So the Bhagavatam and all our literatures, they start with where we're at. And where we're at is in this fundamental, is the material nature. So after the introductory chapter in 25, which is the glories of devotional service, now he's getting down to what the reason why he's known as teaching Sankhya Yoga. The Sankhya means analysis, counting. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananativi. The Goswamis would count very carefully the rounds, also their obeisances, you know. And in this way, they would perform their bhajan. So Sankhya means to count or to analyze. It's kind of a scientific word. Material scientists also perform that activity of analyzing this material world, but their motive is different. The true Sankhya yogi or the Bhakti yogi who's practicing Sankhya, let us put it that way, which is what Kapil Dev is teaching. Oh, the ultimate teaching is Bhakti, obviously, is that we need to understand how this world works so that we can use it appropriately in serving Krishna and get out of it. This principle is spoken by Narada Muni in the first canto. Does not a thing in a little different way that's applied in proper way cure that very disease that was caused by the same thing? Just like I remember, I like to tell this little story. When I grew up in a house with wooden floors. And like a normal kid, I'm running around the house, you know, playing, and I would periodically get splinters. I don't know if you've ever had a splinter or a thorn. You get a thorn in your foot, you know. So what would I do? So my mother taught me, you know, first, well, you can get the splinter out with this needle. She had a little box where she would do sewing. You know, in those days, every lady knew how to sew. Today also, to some degree. So in those days, there was no machine, at least in my house. And so she had a bunch of needles, and she said, here, use this needle and carefully take it out. You can do it so it hardly even hurts at all, and you'll be free of the splinter. So I learned how to do it myself. I would go up into the closet, pick up the box myself, get the needle, and boom. Because I'm running around the house, it was sure and certain I was going to get some splinters. So the sewing needle is nothing but another splinter, right? So one splinter takes out another splinter, and you're free of splinters. So sound, this whole universe begins from sound, isn't it? When Krishna wanted, Om is the first sound, and it goes on from there. And Lord Brahma, he didn't know what to do. He would throw himself on this lotus. You know how he got manifested. The first manifested being, he's known as Ajja because he wasn't born in an ordinary way. So what happened when he lands on this lotus? What does he do? He doesn't know what to do. He actually goes down. Where did I come from? Intelligent person. How did I get here? So he goes down the lotus, and even though he explored the lotus, he couldn't find Garbhadaksha Vishnu there because he wasn't qualified yet. So he very intelligently went back up the lotus stem and sat down and waited. And what happened? Remember? 3 syllables, two syllables spoken 3 times. Krishna speaking to him. Disembodied voice. They're very important in Bhagavatam. Tapa, tapa, tapa. So being very intelligent, after all, he's got 4 heads, he said, okay, now I'm supposed to perform austerity, meaning meditation. He was initiated then, his instruction from Krishna. And he began meditating. Eventually, he realized Krishna revealed everything in the heart. He spoke the Brahma Samhita, and then he created everything. But it all began with sound. The point is that sound is key for creation and also for initiation and illumination. So we need to know how this world works. But we're still in the introductory verses here. And so he's making it clear what's the point is you should know the person behind it. Just like in the Brahma Samhita, there's so many wonderful verses, especially Govinda prayers, deal with so many subjects of Mahavishnu and Srishti, Sthiti, Durga is there, and even Ganesh, and many different things. But it all comes back to Govinda, right? Every verse ends with this Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Okay, I'll say, you say. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I knew that would break you up. So, but the beginning is, so that there's no doubt, and everyone can chant together. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Savaka Karanam. This is a key verse for us. This is the key verse. This is Brahma, the head of our sampradaya, who's defining what God is. Savaka Karanam. Even in the Western theology, I once studied a little with Thomas Aquinas. I think he formulated. He had different proofs for the existence of God. You know, I mean, they were all logical. He didn't really have any realization, but he was very intelligent. And one of them was the uncaused cause of everything, the cause of all causes. That was his phrase. So he had some inkling. Here it says, Anadi Radi Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam, literally the cause of all causes. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Hari Ki Jai, Gunatai Ki Jai, Shri Nasti Gopal. Nasti Gopal Ki Jai. Okay. So that's what this verse is all about, and there's very related to the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. Starts with Anadir Atma Purusha Nirguna Prakate Pada. So Prabhupada analyzes these verses. That's why it's such a long purport. He goes and analyzes each word here. So the first point here that Prabhupada says, he's a Purusha. This is the inconceivable to the material scientists. Because when they analyze the material world, they look for subtle material causes, right? I remember, I'm so old, that I remember when the only particles of the atom they understood was the neutron, the proton, and the electron. Bas. But then, as I went through school, they said, oh, they discovered another particle, the quark, you know, and the I forget, prions, there's so many now, you know, the strange, I mean, it's weird. But they kept, because they were able to increase their power of their sight by the electron microscope. It was a whole new level of understanding. So naturally, they're very excited, and they're looking for the cause of everything within those particles. If you ask a scientist, an electrical engineer, or not, excuse me, automotive engineer, how a car works, of course now it's a lot more complicated than in my day when they first started. But they'll give you all kinds of explanation of how the cylinders are working and the gas is expanding and all this. They don't have carburetors anymore, but all this stuff now is computerized, right? You probably have a big book that you have to how the car works. But probably point out, but the car doesn't work unless there's a driver, right? It'll sit there on a lot, the most expensive car with all the computerized. It won't go anywhere. So the way the car works is that the driver sits there, and by his conscious energy, he's moving his own car, namely this body, to manipulate the external car. So the beginning is always a person. This is how this world is moving. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this world is simply a combination of these two energies, the spirit and the matter. You should understand that. So that's the first step in understanding the fundamental principle of material nature is understanding that it's all personal behind it. In fact, Prabhupada quotes so many verses here. He cites many verses, but he really doesn't quote much Sanskrit. But this one from the Vishnu Purana is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ekadesha stitis yagne josna vistarani yatha padasya brahmana shakti stidedam akilam jagat. So Ekadesha stitis yagne. That just like a fire, if you have a fire sacrifice, you ever do them inside here? You have it. So you have a fire, so that first of all, the smoke is going, but you can see the light. The fire is in one spot, maybe in that, let's assume it's on that lotus there. So I'm sitting with the light, and if it's a big enough fire, if enough ghee is burning, I can feel some of the heat. So just as a fire may be situated in one place, but its heat and light is spread throughout a room or throughout some territory. Similarly, Krishna is situated in one place, Goloka Vrindavan, but his energies, both spiritual and material, are spread throughout the entire creation. That's the whole idea. Now, we're many universes. You know, Prabhupada says that each body is kind of like a universe. So we're also situated in one place as spirit souls in the heart, but our consciousness is spread throughout our body. Prabhupada explained that by means of the red corpuscles. The blood is spreading. That's why if I sit here long enough, my foot falls asleep and I can't feel anything until the circulation begins, because the blood has stopped circulating. So I've lost consciousness in my foot. And because in the nail there's no blood vessels, I can cut it. We can all cut our nails at no pain. But as soon as you clip a little bit of the flesh, ouch, right? Because the consciousness is there. So this is a very important point, seeing how Krishna is spread everywhere. Prabhupada, he cites the 9th chapter of the Gita, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. Maya tatamidam sarvam means I am pervading throughout the whole universe by my avyakta murti, my invisible. Avyakta means invisible. Invisible means we can't see the energies. We can't certainly see the air energy or the mind energy. But all these energies are spread everywhere. And also Krishna is spread through his expansion, the super soul, isn't it? And the living entities are also everywhere. So spiritual vision means to connect this world to Krishna. First of all, with our understanding by hearing the Shastra, and then practically. Because if we don't connect this world to Krishna, then we're going to again fall into the idea of dominating and enjoying this material world. And that's the whole science of bhakti. But it begins with this understanding. So, nirguna prakate para. Now we ourselves can transcend the material energy by material modes of nature by serving Krishna. Mam cha yoga vicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Sogunan sabhaditaitam brahma bhuya ekalpate. So that transcendental situation is available to us, but because we're minute, we have a tendency to be overwhelmed and bewildered by this material energy. But Krishna is prakate para and nirguna. He's not at all affected by these modes of nature. So this is a firm contrast between him and us. Pratyagdama swayam jyotir. He's receivable and self-effulgent. What is that effulgence? That effulgence is consciousness. That Brahma Jyoti is pure consciousness, and is pervading everywhere. But with our dark eyes and limited vision, we can't perceive it. Vishram yena samanvitam. In this way, the entire creation is maintained. So let's go through this purport and explore a little bit. It's quite lengthy. So the first idea is anadi. What has a beginning? Matter. The universe has a beginning. Our body has a beginning. Everything that you see around you here once didn't exist in this form, but now it exists as a wonderful temple, because intelligence, devotional intelligence, has brought it all the material things together that can draw our consciousness to Krishna. This is the whole idea. What's the idea behind the deity worship? Well, Krishna is so merciful, we can't see him in his original spiritual form because we don't have prema yet. So all we can see is matter. It says, okay, I'll appear through matter in my authorized form, installed, everything, and nicely worship. And you can relate to me through matter. And if you're pure enough, the deity will speak to you. Right? He spoke to Madhavan Puri all the time. So, but Krishna, he reaches out. I like to give this analogy. Somehow or other, You know, I never got, please, I never got into really heavy duty drugs, you know, but I was a child of the 60s. I smoked marijuana and everything like that. But I was surrounded by people who were into drugs and heavy. So I know what addiction can mean. Or, you know, there's so many people who are addicted to alcohol. I smoked cigarettes for 7 or 8 years. That is another addiction. So oftentimes when you find just think of alcoholism. So someone is addicted to alcohol. So if he has a friend, he has a best friend, that friend may say, "What are you doing, Joe? You're ruining your life. You're breaking up your marriage. You can't work properly. So come with me. I'm taking you to AA, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous. They have, or even more serious, a place in the country where you sign in and you agree, I won't leave for a month, and they can keep you there, and you're with other people who are working on the same thing, and you have counselors and all that. So this is called an intervention. Someone who loves you or cares about you wants to save you from being destroyed by an addiction. This is exactly the role of the spiritual master. Krishna himself sometimes comes, but more often he's sending the acharyas, the saints, to intervene in our lives. You know, Prabhupada said, yes, they're saying it is a nuisance, this Hare Krishna. We have a responsibility to annoy them, to go out on the street and turn their attention, even if it's negative, that they'll hear Hare Krishna. It's the beginning of their spiritual life. Because otherwise, people are in this cut-off cocoon where nothing comes in except material influences. You see? So the pure devotee, Baba came to America, the heart of illusion, New York City, and he tried all kinds of ways, giving the pure sound of the Hare Krishna mantra and his speaking, his books, to penetrate somehow the hearts of a few souls so that he could plant the seed of bhakti. So that intervention is necessary. Now we have to take advantage of it. Ultimately, it's up to the guy who's addicted to alcohol, the alcoholic. If he doesn't have any determination, if he's determined to destroy himself, no one can save him. And similarly, Krishna, he's given us this minute independence, and if we're determined to stay in Maya, then he can't save us. It may take millions of births. So that's spoken here. So there is a history from the beginning of our life, but Krishna is Anadi. So there's always this contrast. What we share is we're both persons, we're both conscious. We have form, we have activities, we have desires, but what we don't share is the quantity. Krishna is infinite, we're infinitesimal. Okay. He's soul or spirit. Brahman means great, the greatest thing. Okay, we can feel consciousness. So one point here, we also have, you've heard of this phrase, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the 3 levels of understanding. We have our Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan features, just like our Brahman feature, consciousness. We're spread throughout this body. You see, that's me. I'm spread throughout. That's consciousness. That's our Brahman feature. But we're located within the heart, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair, right? Often when we speak of the Lord of the soul that way, you don't think, oh, he has hands and feet. No, we're just a little particle. So we're localized. But as well, in the ultimate sense, we are complete spiritual persons. We have our Siddha Swarup, right? Our eternal form in the spiritual world that's covered now for millions and millions of births. But it's there, it can't be lost. Any more than we can be killed or die, that form is eternally there. So we have our Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, just as Krishna does, but Krishna's is infinite, ours is infinitesimal. So consciousness and super consciousness. I remember reading this book, this Teachings of Kapila Dev used to be 1 volume. Now it's beginning with 25 and ending the canto. And I took that 1 volume with me to India, first time I went. That was all I was reading on the plane. So I remember it's practically only in this purport, and certainly in this chapter, where Prabhupada uses this phrase, super consciousness. Super conscious. This was a very common phrase in the 60s. I want to achieve, or cosmic consciousness. I don't know if Prabhupada doesn't use that, but it's the same idea. Cosmic consciousness. But nobody knew what it was. They had some inkling of something beyond ordinary consciousness by dropping all this acid, this LSD, you know. But that didn't help them. But what it did was made a few of them receptive to this message that here's where the real super consciousness is. I don't need any drugs. And we don't. Drugs will just cover our consciousness. So the small light and the sunlight. Prabhupada makes that. He quotes from Bhagavad Gita. We can all chant together. We should know this verse. Natadbhasayate suryo shashanko napavakaha yadgadvana navartante tadhama padamam mama. This is practically the only verse in the Gita that Krishna describes the spiritual world. It's just one this verse. But it's significant. There's no need for the sun, the moon, the fire, Prabhupada says electricity. Because, why? Because it's all self-illuminated. Chidanandam Jyoti, this word Jyoti, you know, it's there in the Brahma Samhita as well. Yasya Prabhapa Bhavato Jagatanda Koti, Koti Shrishesha Vasudhari Vabhuti Bindam, Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anandam Ashesha Bhutam, Govindam Adi Purusham. That Yasya, you have to understand how the Govinda prayers, if you don't already, how they're set up. Every one of the first three lines, they all relate to Govinda. So when he says Yasya Prabha, he says, oh, Govinda's Prabha. Govinda's effulgence is this Brahman effulgence. And the whole material energy is supported and created ultimately by that Brahman. Krishna says, what is it? Sarva Yonishu Kontaya, Murtayak Sambhavan Tasam Brahma Mahadyone Bija Padakrata. I am the seed-giving father for all species of life. I provide the seed that enters in the Brahma. The Brahman is said to be like a yoni, like a womb, that grows the bodies of all these unlimited living entities. So this material energy is ultimately Brahman in one definition. The great. Okay. Consciousness is not temporary, we know that, but we haven't learned how to live like that yet. So Prabhupada, he criticized the materialistic atheistic theory, there's no soul, there's no God. The consciousness is a result of a combination of matter. Now this is very prominent today. This whole, you know what AI means? You know what AI stands for? Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. So they're building robots now. I don't want to sully this sacred, but they're making these robots so realistic that men are falling in love with them as robots. You know, it's horrible. But that means that they're, you know, a little more realistic, and they're lonely people would say, "Oh, I can relate to this robot better than to a human being." You can see where Kali Yuga is going. But AI is much more than that. They're thinking. They really think like this. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they're in the forefront of all this stuff. That they can create a robot that will be equivalent to a human being, better than a human being. They'll be able to, you know, respond, have emotions, and everything like that. Can you believe that? That's the ultimate illusion, because they program it and they think that we're nothing but complicated machines. So we can figure you out, and we'll program you so that they'll be much better. And of course, the idea is that, oh, we can put them into the factories and they won't complain. They can work 24 hours a day, and we don't have to pay them anything. This is their ultimate. Replace human beings. And what happens to the human beings? Become homeless. So it's demonic. It's just demonic. No, consciousness can never be duplicated. It is not a result of any kind of material thing. Even the brain. You know, consciousness is being expressed through the brain. It's not that the consciousness is produced by the brain. You see, this is the mistake. Okay, then the comparison again between the individual body and universal body. We've heard second canto in detail about the universal form. The universal form can be thought of as the external body of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme soul, and he has this external body is the whole universe. The patala is where the feet are, the sun is his eyes. See? Now, what's the point of us learning about that? Because it helps us, just like these kind of chapters, of seeing God in the material energy. Not just seeing the beautiful sun. It says, oh, to remember, that's the sun, that's the eye of the Lord. To personify everything, because ultimately there's a person behind everything. rather than try to exploit. Oh, this is the body of God. This is the first step in real ecology. Is to deal respectfully with material nature, rather than just gouge out all of these minerals and everything. There's a place in Montana, you can't even go there. There's so much mining of tin and copper and all these things. They've created big lakes full of poison. That nobody lives there. There's no food. You can't even go there. This is what they do. So this is a sign of demonic consciousness, which means to deny God in everything, even in human beings. So everything becomes a source of exploitation, even other human beings. So that you can imagine what that is. Then you just discard them or enslave. The capitalist mentality is very logical to have slavery. This whole country had slavery until 1860. There was a war about it. But still, that's the ideal for the capitalists. Work them very, very hard and don't pay them. They're doing it in the prisons now. The prisons, you work the prisoners and cents a day. That's what's crazy. So that's all part of this materialistic mentality that there's no God, that we're exploit, and the heck with anyone else or the future. The climate crisis is caused by that. Even a little, the Shreyas and Prayas principle, to see the ultimate good, even in terms of just a livable planet for our descendants. No. We have to exploit as much as possible, and to heck with everyone else. This is the ultimate. Read the 16th chapter. That's what's going on. So these sacred words Srila Prabhupada has given us counteract that illusion, that mentality. So then Prabhupada has this whole question about Swayam Jyoti, about self-effulgence. The modes of material nature do not touch him because he is Swayam Jyoti, he is light himself. And that means that any contact with Krishna is enlightening to us, is purifying. We can contact the holy name, and what this does was, remember, Vidyavadu Jivanam, isn't it? Vidyavadu Jivanam. That the chanting of the holy name is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. Now, on the basis of understanding that all of this is known to us, but we've forgotten, it's within us, then it's just a matter of purification. By chanting the holy name, Prabhupada would point out Haridas Thakur. He was not known as a great scholar reading, or Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. They just chanted basically. They did very much bhajan. But when they spoke, it was the supreme Vedic knowledge was coming out because it was revealed within. So this Swayam Jyoti is self-effulgent, and just like this Bhagavatam itself. What is that verse? Krishna has left this planet and gone back to the full abode. Somehow the first word is given. This Bhagavad Purana has risen just like the sun. After Krishna has gone back to his abode, taking with him Dharma and Gyan. This Dharma and Gyan have been protected by the Bhagavad Purana. Bhagavad written just like the sun. How's it start? Krishna Swadharma Bhagavate. Dharma Gyana Devi Saha. Kalo Nashta Dishamesha Purana Kojanod. Thank you. Get the first word in. So since Krishna went back to the spiritual world, when he came here, he was the first for spreading and establishing Dharma and Gyan. Right? That's one of the reasons he comes. When there's discrepancies in Dharma, he comes to set things right, protecting the devotees, eliminating the demons, and reestablishing Dharma. So he's Dharma and Gyan. Along with Dharma and Gyan is there. So he went back. Krishna Swadharma Bhagavate, returned to his own Dham. Dharma Gyana Devi Saha, along with Dharma and Gyan. So, Kalo Nashta Dishamesha, but for these Kaliites whose vision has been destroyed, there's a word that I'll teach you if you don't know it already. Be knighted. Be knighted. It doesn't mean to get knighted by the queen. It means to be a knight of ignorance. The whole, the vision is nashta, destroyed. It's the same idea. By all of this materialism. So, Kalo Nashya Dishamesha Puranako Adunodita. That the Purana, the Bhagavad Purana, is written like the sun, Arka Adunodita. To give light to these benighted people. Us, is it? So that's the Swayam Jyoti. Krishna is wherever Krishna is, he's like the sun, and he spreads knowledge, he spreads dharma, he spreads goodness. So the whole point of this movement is to manifest Krishna in the form of the book, in the form of the name, in the form of the deity, sadhana, devotees, is to be conduits, or dare I say it, channels, media, for Krishna to affect those around us, and hope to draw other new people to Krishna, because this is their natural state. So that's how we were blessed, somehow or other, by Prabhupada's effort, established a society, and people have been given Krishna in those forms I just mentioned. So that's light, and allowing the light to illuminate one's heart. That's what we need to do. Prabhupada quotes the Upanishads. Did you guess what verse? Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi tamaka. The devotee prays. This is why Prabhupada gave us the Isha Upanishad. It's the rare Upanishad. The most famous one of that is Gopal Tapani Upanishad. But he's giving Isha, the candle is only 18 mantras and one invocation mantra. So one of them is, Prabhupada says, Hiranmayena patrena satyaspahitam mukham tattam pushna pavna satya dharmaya drishtiye. The devotee is praying, "Oh Lord, please remove your golden effulgence so that I can see your face of bliss." That's a person, right? Person have faces. So that's what Prabhupada said. The Upanishads confirm this, that the Brahman, the Swayam Jyoti of the Lord. So the self-illumination confounds the theory that the spirit, soul, or consciousness develops from matter. It does not. Okay, and this idea that the sun is in one place, but he's light and heat. Krishna is in one place, but there's energy everywhere, and he expands everywhere. So let's see. I must need to confirm. The Lord is in Goloka, but he's in everyone's heart as well. Okay. Okay, any discussion on these points? Oh, I went over time. I'm sorry. Any final questions? All right, we should end with something sweet. There's an injunction. Okay. So let's meditate.
Chandani.
Huh?
The Brahma Jyoti, the Chandani.
Brahman Jyoti is what?
Like moonlight.
Like moonlight, moonshine. Soothing. Moonlight is soothing. Yeah. So the Brahman Jyoti, the thing is, he says reflecting from Krishna's body. The moonlight is reflecting from the sun. He gives that analysis. The idea is reflecting or emanating. So the Prabha of Govinda is Jyoti. And the Prabha of the moon is coming from the sun. Is it? Is a reflection from the sun. That's the idea.
Oh, from Brahma Jyoti, that's Krishna singing Krishna Jyoti.
I'm sorry?
Krishna Jyoti.
Yes, but it's an emanation from his body. Govinda, right? Do you know the verse? Yasya prabhapa bhavatotikadanna koti koti shrishesha vasida bhuti binna tad brahma nishkalam anandam sheshvus govindam adi purusham tamam. Yasya means his, and it refers to Govinda. So his effulgence is the Brahman, and it's also involved in the creation of this whole material. All right, I am over time, so we're shooting for 8:30. Okay, but I'll give you this little poem. Now we're going to meditate on Krishna entering the forest with his friends. Beginning of Venu Gita, right? Beautiful verses. I'll give you a little taste of the Sanskrit. Kusamata Vanadad Shushna Bringa Vijukula Gushta Saraksarin Mahidram the Bagaya Charyanga Sahapushabala Badashtakujaminam Barhidam Natabadabapu Karnayo Karnikara Vibradvasa Kanaka Kapisham Shamala Adadasudiyapudiyan Gopa Vrindaranyam Sopapadamam Prabhishad Gita Kirti. So I took these two verses, put it into a poem, and then at the end is a blessing from the Krishna book. Here it goes. Vrindavans, rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills as flocks of birds and magpies among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends, Sri Rama and the cowherd boys, to taste the most exquisite joys. And as they walk along the way, absorbed in herding and in play, Sri Krishna, beauty absolute, begins to blow his mystic flute. Okay. With peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower on each ear, he enters Braja's woods with tread sublime, a dancer without peer. His golden yellow raiment glows, his garland reaches to his knees, and from his lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with melodies. As Krishna thus begins his day with friends who sing his glories sweet, he beautifies the forest way with fine impressions of his feet. Samadhi culminates in this, to always see this scene of bliss within oneself and outside too. May Krishna give this boon to you. That last verse is where Prabhupada says in the Krishna book, real transcendental meditation is always seeing this scene within and without. So there it is. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.